Thanks to you. Someone else wants to thank you too.
It says I have 6 o'clock, so I'm going to start the webinar now. We should start to see attendees joining us.
It's still showing this stuff. And somewhere in Yahoo News, a former Olympic judge said that they never, she should have come.
I think we're 3 shy of the quorum now.
Are any of our electeds here yet, Jeremy?
So far, it's just Anastasia Yaskova from the Community Affairs Unit of the Mayor's Office and Ken Lazar from Department of Buildings.
So no electeds.
And
No.
I know the borough president was joining today, so.
Yes, they haven't joined
6:30.
yet.
6:30? Okay,
Yeah, 6:30, they're gonna sign on.
great.
I believe we have the quorum now, Cesar.
All right, I'm gonna give folks another 2 minutes and then we'll get started.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Pat.
Hi,
Hi, Pat.
hi, Pat.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, Pat.
Hey, John Garcia, love those new glasses. Where'd you get them?
The pharmacy. I'm waiting for my good ones, like when I was on the bus with you.
I like that glass.
Thank you. Makes me look smart.
Yeah.
You are smart, my brother. Jeremy, can you be my co-host? Can you make
Thank
me
you.
co-host?
Already did.
Okay, so I think we'll get started. So let's, before we gavel in, I just want to start by, again, hi, everyone, welcome, and thank you for being here. And I want to start by acknowledging just how difficult things still are for a lot of us. We're still in a pandemic and people are still suffering, and all of us, we're still dealing with sickness and death. And I just want to acknowledge that because it's hard. And on top of that, we have families and we have obligations and jobs and a whole bunch of other things. And and it's tough. And so I really appreciate that all of you are making the effort to continue to stay engaged in the work that we do here on the community board. And, you know, again, let's be kind to each other. Let's listen to each other. Let's allow ideas to flow. And yeah, I want to just make sure that we're all acknowledging the difficulties we're going through, and that we just continue to be kind and supportive to one another and to our neighbors and to the entire community. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and officially gavel into this meeting. And so Jeremy, can you take the roll, please?
Maria is doing that tonight.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm going to be calling roll call. Once I call your name, please unmute yourself, say present or here, and then once again, mute yourself. Thank you. Ramona Acevedo. Ramona Acevedo. Sandra Alfonso.
Present.
Thank you. Grisela Amador. Grisela Amador. Genesis Aquino. Genesis Aquino. Nicholas Azadian.
Present.
Thank you. Mohammed Bahi. Mohammed Bahi. Joan Body.
Here.
Thank you. Stacy Boyd.
Here.
Thank you. Gladys Bruno. Gladys Bruno. Julixa Campusano.
Present.
Thank you. Joseph Canale.
Here.
Thank you. Justin Collins.
Here.
Thank you. John DeLuper. John DeLuper. Beatrice DeSapio.
Here.
Thank you. David Estrada.
Here.
Thank you. Cynthia Felix.
Present.
Thank you. John Frontillis.
I'm here.
Thank you. Kin Fung.
Yeah.
Thank you. John Garcia.
Here.
Thank you. Anthony Giglio.
Here.
Thank you. Cynthia Gonzalez.
Here.
Thank you. Hector Gonzalez.
Here.
Thank you. Kenny Guan.
I'm here.
Thank you. Nicole Huang.
Here.
Thank you. Zach Jacy. Zach Jacy. John Johnston.
Here.
Thank you. Beverly Kleinman.
Present.
Thank you. Waco. Waco. Joseph Lara. Joseph. Joseph Lara.
Present. Here.
Thank you. Barbara Lee.
Here.
Thank you. Christina Lem. Christina Lem. Jimmy Lee. Jimmy Lee. Paul Mack. Paul Mack. Antoinette Martinez.
Present.
Thank you. Aurelis Martinez. Aurelis Martinez. Marilyn Melman. Marilyn Melman.
Here.
Thank you. Dan Murphy.
Here.
Thank you. Gloria Rodriguez Navoa.
Present.
Thank you. Julio Pena III. Julio Pena. Rovika Roskenshan. Rovika Roskenshan. Karen Rolnick.
Present.
Thank you. Pat Ruiz.
Here.
Thank you. Sam Sierra. Sam Sierra. Brian Slater.
Present.
Thank you. Victor Swinton.
Present.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cindy Vanderbosch.
Present.
Thank you. Catherine Walsh.
Present.
Thank you. Fred Wolf. Fred Wolf. Cesar Zuniga.
Present.
Thank you. Okay, roll call has been called.
Maria, one more. Genesis Aquino has her hand up. Genesis,
I'm here.
thank
I love
you.
service.
Okay, thank you.
So Senator Brisport, I see you and we'll get right to you. I just want to do one more item. Can we do the pledge before we hear from Senator Brisport? So Beverly, can you lead us? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Senator Brisport. Thank you for joining, Senator. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I be given permissions to share my screen? I just want to give a few updates from Albany.
Absolutely.
Give me one moment. I'll take care of that for you.
That's right.
You're now a co-host and can share your screen.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to go through a quick slide deck to just share some updates with everyone. So a few things, these remote meetings that are currently allowed are a suspension of the open meetings law that allows us to do them virtually. It's due to the state of emergency that we're in with COVID-19. For those who don't know, earlier this year, the state legislature stopped putting an end date on remote meetings. We basically gave power to the governor and said that whenever she decides the state of emergency for COVID is over, that's when remote meetings will end. So the current end date is March 16th for the current state of emergency. She just extended it this Monday, actually. She released a new emergency, a new executive order extending the state of emergency until March 16th. This is obviously not sustainable. You know, at some point we will not be in a state of emergency. So if you are interested in alternative solutions, please let my office know. People have reached out to me about advocating for a permanent remote option. I am definitely open to that. Just I want to know what people in the community would like. Redistricting, we about 2 weeks ago voted on new lines for the state legislature and for Congress. If you have not been on this site yet, newyork.redistrictingandU.org, it is a fantastic site, not a government site, but very accurate. I think it was made by people at CUNY, and it shows a great slide tracker for the changes in the line. So you can see the current congressional lines for Red Hook Sunset Park, or excuse me, for just Community Board 7. And you can see how they are changing. You can do the same thing to see your assembly lines from the current to what they are changing to for the next 10 years. And the Senate, sadly, is changing a lot in this area. You will no longer have me. This coast is currently represented by Diane Savino. This sliver here is currently represented by Andrew Gennardis, and then this over here is part of a new district that was created as we undid Republican gerrymandering. And just to be, I guess, to be clear in my speech, these neighborhoods and regions are not technically currently represented by those senators. The timeline is a little bit tricky, but essentially you will vote based on the new lines in June when you vote, but your current representative is your current representative through the end of the year. So what that means for those of you who I represent in Sunset Park, you will not see me on your ballot in June, but I'm still your senator through December 31st. So please continue reaching out to my office for whenever you need. I'm going back to the slide deck now. We are going through the New York State budget process right now. My office is sending our budget priority letter to leadership tomorrow. We're not currently accepting funding request letters for that budget letter, but please do send any to my office just in case anything changes If you have no idea what I'm talking about and you've never heard of sending a funding request letter to your state legislature, we have this URL, bit.ly/budget letters. This is a page up on our Senate site, and it contains an FAQ about the state budget, but also who can apply for state funding, when, and how. And again, if you've never done this before, we also have just a sample letter that you can, edit to your own liking of how to ask for money from your state legislator. And I believe that's it. So if you have any questions, as always, my email is brisport@nysenate.gov. And if you want to get on our email listserv for updates, it's bit.ly/SD25-updates. And I will share this slide deck. I think there's no chat, right? Okay, so maybe there's another way for me to share the URL.
You just send it to Jeremy's email address or
You can just email it to us.
I will email it to community boards. Okay, thank you. I will do that to share out. Thank you so much.
Senator, you have time for a couple of questions? Yes. Okay, so if any members have any questions for the senator, please raise your hand. David, please.
Senator, so happy to have you here and working for us through the end of the year. I wanted to speak on behalf of small businesses a bit. There's some legislation pending in Albany and some budget items and governor's initiatives around liquor to go, for example, associated with the Open Restaurants Program and survival of restaurants. I just want to make sure that I think but that your colleagues in Albany know that the time for recovery when the pandemic is over medically, the economic emergency will continue for some years. So these accommodations to restaurants, especially those in districts like ours, are just more important than ever. And I also wanted to flag for you something that might be considered a home rule issue with respect to Albany preempting New York City's ability to manage open air commerce in public spaces, related to both street vendors and food trucks and all sorts of things. But I'm regardless of where one stands on the issue of how to manage public space, I think New York City should take care of our own regulations and rules on the streets and in our neighborhoods. And I hope we can count on you to be an advocate for home rule rather than Albany dictate. Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah, so I think the governor's proposal legalizes alcohol to go. Most people in the legislature, to my knowledge, are supportive of that, including me. And yes, let me look more into the legislation that regulates street vendors, because I'll need to educate myself more so on that.
Thank you. Anyone else for the senator? Otherwise, we'll move on. I don't see anyone. Senator, thank you so much for being here tonight. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Okay, so let's go right to our very own Assembly Member Matenis. Good to see you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Is it possible to share the screen also? Evening, Senator Brisport.
Yeah, let's make that happen for Marcella, please.
You are a co-host now and you can share your screen.
Okay, we're working on it. 1 second.
Oh, whoops. Okay.
All right, so as Senator
right.
Brisport mentioned also, we're in the middle of budget season. It's okay. You want to just go to the side?
Wait, I got it. Okay.
So something that I'm very focused on is the ERAP and eviction moratorium. In 2021, the ERAP paid more than $2 billion for rental arrears, temporary rental assistance, and utility arrears. The moratorium has expired as of the 15th of January, but tenants still have protection, even though there currently isn't money for ERAP, and that's something that we're still fighting for. tenants can apply for ERAP, and that's still a layer of protection against eviction. There's also the Safe Tenants Harbor Act. It's a protection at the federal level. It's a defense that you can raise, which says that you cannot be evicted if the reason you're not able to pay rent has to do with the hardship, financial hardship due to COVID. And lastly, something that we're pushing is a good cause eviction bill. This is a bill that would actually bring basic tenant protections to tenants that don't currently have it. So small buildings, 2 and 3 family homes, what this does is it allows landlords to evict tenants only if they have a reasonable, a good reason as to why. Currently tenants are not protected under that, and there's a concern because there's tenants that have been paying their rent whose lease expired that have no protection that can currently be evicted. And so that's another layer there. Excluded workers. The current proposal by the governor doesn't allot any money for the Excluded Workers Fund. In 2021, we passed the historic 2.1 billion, the first in the nation for excluded workers. These are workers that did not qualify for any unemployment benefits at the state level or pandemic relief at the federal level. Our office alone has assisted 804 applications, which brought in 22 million just for our district alone. We are currently asking for another 3 billion to replenish the fund. There's people that have applied that are stagnant because we ran out of money. So we want to make sure that we can process those applications. But we also want to make this a permanent solution and have this actually be something that is funded under unemployment benefits for immigrants. Oops, I went too far. And again, we're starting to hear also that some people that actually received the funding and the money have been experiencing fraud, where the money is now being taken out of the cards that they were originally issued. So anyone that's having any problems, we're currently in contact with the Department of Labor, trying to straighten some of that out and also help folks process these applications for fraud. Homeowner assistance, there's the Homeowner Assistance Fund program is accepting applications through February 18th. There's $540 million of direct financial support for homeowners that are at risk of default, foreclosure, and displacement because of hardship of COVID. There's information, oops, sorry. There's a website and a number to call. There's also 20 million for the HOP program as well. Small businesses, there's currently assistance and relief for that. Small business tax relief credit, there's 250 million in tax credit for small businesses that have COVID-related expenses, and also 200 million in seed funding for early stages. Not to repeat what Senator Bridgeport mentioned, but yes, at the end of this week, we have to submit our own budget letters with our priorities. And what's going to happen over the next week is that both houses are going to kind of like put their requests together, and then by mid-March we'll have our one house budget published. In late March we'll start the negotiations with the governor and the speaker and the majority leader so that we can meet our deadline on the 1st. Lastly, I just want to mention to folks that I'm having these bi-weekly fireside chats where I'm talking about specifically the work that I'm doing in Albany. I know there's a lot of conversations around the redistricting, so that's going to be one of the topics in particular that I want to talk about this weekend. It's going to be Sunday, February 20th at 5, and we're streaming live on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And that's it.
Thank you, Assemblymember. Do you have time for 1 or 2 questions?
Yes.
Great. So if anyone has any questions for our assembly member, please raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any board members raising their hands, so I think you're good. Thank you so much for coming by. And
great seeing everyone.
All right, good to see you. Bye. Okay, any other elected officials that I need to recognize before we move on?
I don't see any other electeds at the moment.
Great. Let's get going then. Okay, so let's go with the adoption of the agenda. Are there any? Great. And is there a second? So Marilyn seconds it, and who moved the motion?
Pat.
Pat, okay. And so let's do this through unanimous consent unless there are any objections. Hearing or seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so the adoption of the minutes of the January 19th, 2022 board meeting.
Motion to accept, Pat.
Pat moves it, and is there a second?
Joan seconds it.
Joan seconds it, okay. And is there any objection to moving this through unanimous consent? Okay, hearing and seeing none, so moved. Well, let's go. Okay, so let's go to public comment. Let me just quickly announce the way that the public comment works. So the first public comment that's on the agenda is for anything that's on the agenda that you'd like to speak on. If what you want to speak on is not on the agenda, we have a second public comment at the end of the meeting, and we'd ask you to just hold on until then to speak on anything not on the agenda. So does anyone want to speak on anything on the agenda? Jeremy, are there any names on the wait list?
I don't see any hands.
Okay, I'll wait another 30 seconds. Any community member wants to talk about anything on the agenda? This is the time to raise your hand.
I see 2 hands up.
Okay, let's do it.
Byron Todman, please unmute yourself. And you have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. My name is Byron Todman, and I'd like to thank Community Board 7 for having me. I am here to represent NHS of Brooklyn, a local not-for-profit assisting Brooklyn residents with homeownership purchase. I'm here to announce 2 new programs that we have. One is a property management company where we are assisting small property owners with management services. And the second is a new program that was awarded this week, where we're working with Enterprise Community Foundation to try and recruit small property owners with vacant units for emergency housing voucher placements. I will send 2 flyers to the community board for distribution if anybody would like to follow up, and also which will contain my contact information. A little bit of background on the emergency voucher program. New York City was awarded roughly 8,000 new vouchers for New Yorkers in need of housing placement. And the city is looking to place as many people as possible. And as part of that, they are actually offering some financial assistance to owners who would like to participate in the program, but their unit is in need of repairs. So, and they will be offering support as well to work with owners and tenants to stay ahead of any issues that may come up as a part of the tenancy. As the elected officials pointed out, NHS does work with the Housing Assistance Fund and as well with the ERAP program with helping tenants and landlords file for the program and homeowners get assistance through the Housing Assistance Fund. You can visit our website at nhsbrooklyn.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so again, just to be clear, this public comment is for items that are on the agenda. If you don't see anything on the agenda that you want to speak on, can I just please ask you to wait until the last public comment, which is coming up shortly. So is there anyone else? Jeremy?
I have one more hand up.
Okay.
Sylvia Augusto, you can unmute yourself. Sylvia? Sylvia Augusto,
Yeah, I'm trying. I was trying.
you're unmuted.
Okay, thank you. I want to know more about, if I'm correct, you have on the first thing on the agenda is a construction of some type of hotel and an ambulatory diagnostic treatment healthcare facility on 4923 Second Avenue. Do we have any more information about that?
I don't see that on the, Jeremy, is that something,
That's coming
Oh,
up
that's,
on March, I'm sorry, on March 1st. We don't even have it on the schedule yet.
I'm sorry, then
Not on
I'm
the
looking.
agenda tonight.
Okay. So today's topics is the public safety, and I'm just trying to understand all of this.
yeah.
I'm new
So
to all this.
Yeah. Let me explain, Sylvia. So today,
Okay.
obviously, the first thing to be clear on, today's the public meeting, right? Where we basically come together to report out to the community what, if we've had other committee meetings throughout, between the last meeting and this meeting, we report out. Today, we sort of do all of the public business of the community board. There's only two reports on today's agenda, which is the Public Safety Committee and the Executive Committee. I think, as Jeremy said, there are going to be a whole bunch of meetings related to a whole bunch of topics between now and next month, and hopefully you'll get all the notices, and obviously you're welcome to attend some of those committee meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. All right.
Okay.
I have another hand up.
Okay, let's do it.
George Cardona, you could unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, regarding the safety committee and so forth, it seems to be that there's a correlation. The more homeless shelters there are, the higher the crime rate goes. Are we doing anything about that? Am I the only one concerned? Are more people concerned in what we're trying to do? I know people need help. I'm not against helping people that need help, but it's like Sunset Park is the dumping ground of New York City. Everything gets dumped on us. And my safety concern is there are things happening near me, and I have neighbors that don't want to call the cops because they tell me nothing gets done and they're afraid to report. I'm trying to push people to report so the numbers do go up there and people are aware of it. And I'm just concerned about that. And I just want to know what your comment is. And thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, George. Again, this is not an item that's on our agenda tonight. It's likely to be on our agenda next month. If you look at our website, by Friday, you will see a meeting addressing this on our schedule. So please just stay tuned.
Yeah, and the other thing that I'll say, just very quickly, after tonight, I plan to reach out and do just a one-on-one with Cynthia Felix, who's the chair of our Public Safety Committee, to schedule a meeting. I've been hearing from a lot of different people across the district on some of these public safety concerns, specifically connected to some of the shelters. So Cynthia, I'll be reaching out to you to have a conversation about that.
No problem. I already have asked Natasha and gave her some days, so we're on it for March. So Natasha's reaching out already to the 7-2.
Yeah, we're just waiting to hear back to see when the captain and the NCOs and the community affairs have availability with the dates we gave them. So as we hear from them, they'll be set up.
Thank you so much. Okay. All right, so we're gonna keep going. Now let's go to the committee reports. So public safety met. There is no vote that's required, so I'll just refer you to Cynthia's report, which should have been attached to the packet. And unless, Cynthia, do you have you want to take a minute or two to do any updates from that meeting?
Just a couple of highlights. So first, I want to thank the Sunset Park Fifth Avenue bid for serving as a not-for-profit to collect the funds for those affected by major fires in Sunset Park. Thank you for doing that and helping the community. And David did a great presentation updating us on what was done for those families. Also, we had FDNY, Safety and Prevention firefighter Dietrich, who gave very comprehensive information. He was wonderful. Some major safety tips. Number one, self-closing doors are required in all buildings with 3 or more apartments. And please close the door to avoid the spread of fire. Also, the Red Cross gives out free and installs free smoke alarms in your homes, up to 3 of them. So please read the report. And also there's flyers that all board members got in 3 languages with safety, the fire safety that's on there. So please read them and do that. Fires in homes have increased, especially fatalities. From 2020, we had 66. In 2021, we have 73. And to date, there is already 20. So it is something that's happening more often, unfortunately. So please be safe.
Thank you, Cynthia. Okay, next is the executive committee report. There is no vote required. I'll refer you to my report, and I also will just make a couple comments when I do my chair's report a little later on. So that does it for the committees. So let's go to the second roll call of the evening. Maria, can you do the second call?
Sure. Okay, board member, once again, I will be calling the names of the board members that were not present in the original roll call. Once you hear your name, unmute yourself, say present or here, and once again, mute yourself. Thank you. Ramon Acevedo. Ramon Acevedo. Grisela Amador.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mohammed Bahi. Mohammed Bahi. Gladys Bruno. Gladys Bruno. John DeLuper. John DeLuper. Okay. Zach Jacey. Zach Jacey. Waco. Waco. Christina Lem. Christina Lem. Jimmy Lee. Jimmy Lee. Paul Mack.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aurelis Martinez. Aurelis Martinez. Julio Pena III. Julio Pena. Rovika Roskinshan. Rovika Roskinshan. Sam Sierra. Sam Sierra. And Fred Wolf. Fred Wolf. Okay, roll call called.
Thank you, Maria. Okay, so let's go to elected officials and their reps. Any reps to call on?
I have the list, Cesar.
Great.
Anastasia Yaskova from the Mayor's Office Community Assistance Unit. You may unmute yourself.
No.
Present.
Do you wish
Present.
to speak? No.
Good evening, everyone. Good to hear everyone and see whomever I know. I'm just listening so far, observing. So far so clear. So we'll see how it goes later on. We have a lot of things to discuss.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Next, Edward Cerna for Councilmember Alexa Avila's office. Edward, if you're still here, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Natasha. Hello, everyone, and good evening. Edward Cerna, Chief of Staff for Councilmember Aviles. I'll be very brief. NYCHA, the council member, has been touring NYCHA developments as part of her work as chair of the Public Housing Committee. For instance, she visited Red Hook East in response to reports of heat and hot water outages. And by the time she got there, since we have a good collaboration with the offices of Senator Brisport and Assemblyman Matenis, the issue had been resolved, which is always good because we do want NYCHA responding to these outages quickly. But she handed out PPE and COVID take-home test. She also visited Far Rockaway, where she joined Councilmember Selena Brooks Powers and Queensborough President Richards to tour developments out there. She visited Carleton Manor, which hadn't had heat and hot water for many months. And again, was talking to residents on the ground, hearing the call, because this is what's going to inform her body of work. Which, speaking of which, the first hearing will likely take place next week. And we're going to focus on the budget. NYCHA has a huge deficits, and we're calling on not only the city, but the state and the federal government to deliver real investments. Her position has always been clear that she does not want to see the NYCHA move in a direction that puts residents at risk of eviction. So we're on it. We're going to keep speaking to, again, residents and leading from a resident-led perspective. We also released our first community newsletter. In our first month in office, we have serviced over 200 constituent cases, anywhere from noise complaints on Fifth Avenue to folks being victims of excluded workers fraud. And we have been materializing results. We met with the captain to address the excluded workers fund fraud. We had multiple constituents reach out to our office about, for instance, snow. We had a lot of snow days, and folks were like, this company is not shoveling in front of their sidewalks. And once we got a wind of it, we made sure that those corrections took place. So I'll leave it at that. You know where to reach me, ecerna@council.nyc.gov. We are open Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 5:30 with weekend hours by appointment only. And our phone number is 718-439-9012. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you so much.
Natasha, I'm going to jump in here and say we have an elected official now.
Okay.
So the name is wrong, but the borough president is here.
Great.
And
hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, how are you? Yes. Oh, I see. Well, I appreciate everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Antonio Reynoso, your borough president, very happy. In the background, you might hear some kids' music because I'm home with the kids. It's Wednesday is my day, making sure that I spend some time with them. But I just want to say I'm really happy to be here in Community Board 7. I was actually there in Sunset Park today with a Lunar New Year event with UA3. We're distributing mask, PPE, hand sanitizer, a vaccination truck, food for those that need it as well, a food distribution. And it was a lot of fun to be there. I expect to be in Sunset Park a bit. I want to go to the places that really need my help. And I know that Sunset Park has a lot of needs, and I want to make sure that I show up for it. Also, just a little bit of patience is what I'm asking from folks, as the previous borough president has now become mayor, and in doing so has taken a significant amount of staffers with him to City Hall. So we're ramping up now. We're getting our hires in, and hopefully once we're up and running and we get to full capacity, we could really start showing the work that we want to do in a meaningful way. Also, I've talked to the chair and the district manager about the amount of work that I'm going to be expecting out of community boards. I'm really excited about being able to bring more resources to the community board, but also do some education, some like sessions where we can inform ourselves a bit more on topic areas that are important to the community board. So we'll be bringing that very soon. We have a comprehensive planning framework that we want to work alongside with the community boards in an effort to do a better job at planning for Brooklyn as a whole, and not allow for communities to be pitted against each other, or for the administration like the previous one to be focused on individual districts instead of the borough as a whole, especially when it comes to housing. Again, really happy and excited to be here. I don't want to consume too much of their time. I know these are long meetings, but I'm looking forward to continuing to work together, and hopefully in due time you'll be tired of me, because I'm really looking forward to, again, partnering and showing up at in and around Community Board 7 as much as possible. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Borough President. Really good to see you.
Thank you, sir. It's nice to see you.
Do you have time for one or two questions? I know you're with
Yes,
the kids.
please. No, the kids are playing with Legos. They're hanging in there right now.
All right, cool. So if anybody has a question for the Borough President, please raise your hand and I'll recognize you.
Borough President, how are you? This is Kenny
Doing well,
Guam.
doing well.
My question is regarding about the new administration for the mayor. I heard he's thinking about for the city officer, housings, for the police officer. You think this is gonna happen in the near future in all the 5 boroughs?
So you said officers in NYCHA, is that what you're saying?
I'm talking about public. They thinking about housings for the city officer, like policeman, sanitation firefighter, things like that. The housings.
So so you're saying what I think is like a residency requirement that the police officers and all uniformed services be live in the city of New York?
Yeah, no. It's regarding about Eric Adams is thinking about build like condos or maybe housing for the city office, like policeman,
Also
firefighter.
creating housing for city like uniformed workers, like fire
Exactly.
department, sanitation. No,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't heard that. Today we had a preliminary budget hearing, and it was very general. It wasn't very specific. And in the preliminary budget hearing and the snapshot that we got, Kenny, there was nothing on housing. We did ask a question of the mayor regarding housing, and he said that he's really looking into ensuring that any vacant affordable housing or any vacant NYCHA units be repaired and put into dignified condition so we can start moving people in there. Also mentioned hotels being converted for affordable housing. But I did not hear, and it could have been something I missed, but I did not hear about the creation of housing specifically for uniformed title holders in the city of New York. So Kenny, unfortunately, I didn't hear about that.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you, Board President. Cynthia Felix, go ahead.
Hi, Antonio. Good to see you. Congratulations.
Hello, thank you so much, Cynthia. Gracias.
Good. So I have a comment regarding the new Brooklyn Community Board application. I noticed it was printable in English and in Spanish. Any plans to have it printable in other languages? As we have, as you know, we're a very multilingual borough. So that was just my question. Someone asked me if it was available in other languages.
So yeah, we're working on that now. So a couple of things. We want to make it at least the 10 languages that are mostly spoken in Brooklyn at minimum. And we've actually felt that the fact that we weren't able to translate it off the bat really discouraged a significant amount of people that were uncomfortable with being able to fill it out in a language that wasn't their choice language. So we recognized the issue there. Unfortunately, the capacity within Borough Hall, just to be clear, the borough president took about 50 staff members out of 66. So we were left with about 13 staff members in Borough Hall out of 66. And outside of me translating the Spanish, we didn't have, our staff is becoming more diverse, and we're looking to the city to help us with translation services, but it is a capacity issue and nothing else. We recognize the faults that have had, but have to move forward with these applications so that we don't lose an entire round of appointments for community boards. So I just again, that's why I'm preaching patience. It is not a reflection of how we want to operate. We want to make sure that our webpage, our applications, and any type of correspondence that we have from Borough Hall to the general public in Brooklyn, that it be in a language that the majority of Brooklyn is comfortable with. So you should be expecting that of me, Cynthia. And it's something that we just can't do right now, but we will be able to do very soon.
Would it be acceptable, Antonio, if someone was supposed to submit something in a language they understood, like the questions, if they were to reply in a language that they are fluent in? So for example, the question is in English, but can I reply in Arabic or Chinese to that question? Or right now, is it all English and then later on that would have the capacity? Because I'm trying to encourage people, someone specifically that speaks another language asked me, can they reply in another language? And I didn't know how to answer that question.
They should submit it in the language that they're most comfortable in. It's an unfortunate situation that they're even having to do that, and I apologize for it. But yes, let them do that, and we will find a way to translate it and get the information we need from it. But again, the last thing we want to do, like, we're really trying to diversify these boards and make them representative of the communities that they're actually in. And we can't do that unless we have like proper language access. So if they want to submit it in the language of their choice, please do so, encourage that. And we'll make sure to translate it on our end and do that work on our end. And this will be the last time that it'll only be in English and Spanish. We're looking to make sure, again, that we have the more predominant languages in Brooklyn that are spoken be a part of the application. But please, Cynthia, encourage them to do that.
Will do. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. Really great, really happy.
Thank you, Cynthia, and Borough President. Perfect, beautiful answer. I love it. Thank you for that.
I appreciate it.
Cindy, you're up.
Hi, Borough President Reynoso. Congratulations. So as you begin sort of planning and thinking about ensuring that there are diverse voices engaged in community boards and also at the borough level, our community, I'm the chair of the Ability and Access Committee, which focuses on engaging people with disabilities and ensuring that disabled voices are, and people that work with people with disabilities are engaged in decision-making processes. And one of the things that we did is we invested in technology even before the pandemic to put hearing loops in to increase access for people with hearing loss, as well as improving technology in our boardroom so that we could stream meetings. And I know that this is something across other community boards that isn't as common because it takes an investment. And so I just wanted to kind of share that with you, but also ask that as part of these planning conversations, that we try as a borough to work towards including accessibility statements for every single public meeting that takes place, so that people who need sign language interpretation know that it's there. If we don't put out there accessibility statements, people will assume that the services won't be there for them and they can't engage. And same thing goes for captioning. Captioning oftentimes doesn't appear on the screen for certain virtual meetings that are taking place. And so I just want to make sure that as you start to plan and think about accessibility and engagement, both linguistically as well as for people with a wide range of needs, because we want to make sure that all people, including disabilities, can participate. So thank you so much. And if there's anything you want to share on that point, great. If not, I just hope that you can keep this in mind as you're planning, because it does take budgeting allocations in order to make accessibility possible.
Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah, and I'll be look, I'll be honest, you're absolutely right. And I think that, you know, somebody that is not a part of the disability community is not in these circles, that those decisions just won't be made. But we are being very conscious of that. We actually have a transition committee that was put together, and in it, a big part of the principles that they set forth is that we pay attention to you know, accessibility and the disability community or the disabled community, and figuring out ways to be helpful to them. I have a lot of learning to do in this area, and I want to be honest that I don't have all the answers, and I'm learning, and I consider myself a growth agent, and that I'm always trying to build. What I would say is that we are going to be speaking with the chairs and the district managers on technical needs, and how we can better improve the work that they're doing on technology, but also like training for that technology and so forth. And in that, I will bring this up in the next borough board meeting as something that we should talk about. The community boards themselves are very limited in resources. So when it comes to like trying to give them opportunities to build off of technology or try something new, usually we task them with these mandates with very little resources and assistance from Borough Hall. That's going to change. So I will bring this up specifically and see if there's something we can do centrally that can be applied to all community boards where these type of things are being paid attention to. So we'll have the conversation initially, and then after we do that, we will talk to the right people to make sure that whatever we're doing actually addresses the issue that you're talking about. Because again, if I've never had to deal with those issues, so you know, I'm seeing it here that it's being the closed captioning and things like that is something that is very rare that I don't see in other community boards. So just seeing that, it's like there's little things that we can do right now, but are there things that we could do long-term that could be meaningful and really show that we do care about diversity of all kinds. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and hopefully by the next time I'm in this meeting, Cesar and the district manager have information about how we are going to improve that.
Thank you so much. And I would just add to Cindy, we're here to serve you to serve as a resource to you. I think I'm super proud of the work Cindy has done and the work that we've all done on the community, in this community board specifically, because we really have operationalized and centered access, accessibility, and transparency, right? And so the investments we made was for no other reason other than we want to make sure that we're being transparent. We want to make sure that we're giving people as much access to these meetings and to this conversation as possible. And so there's a whole list of things that we did, for example, during the industry city rezoning that really leaned into the idea of breaking down barriers for participation, like simultaneous translation, childcare, feeding people. So it's something that I feel really passionate about, and I'm here as a resource for you.
Thank you. And in the meetings that we have, when we bring this up, we'd love to lean on you and maybe use CB7 as a model for how a lot of us should be moving forward in other community boards. Because I tell you, you might not feel like you're doing enough, but you're doing more than arguably any other community board when it comes to this type of stuff. So I'll lean on you, Cesar, and hopefully next time we come to the community board, they'll feel like we've addressed that issue. We can do it. So it's not an issue of whether we can do it. Is this a political will? And I'm encouraged, and I hope we figure it out.
Excellent. I know you have to go. We have one more, Pat, quickly for the borough president, and then we'll let him go.
Hi, how are you? Congratulations.
Thank you, Pat.
I'm very quick. I've never really met with you personally, but I know of you. I'm a longtime member of Community Board 7. I'm also the second chair. And I'm also the president of the Boricua Festival Committee. So my question to you is I know you're just starting your staff. I wish you all the best with that. Is there a list that you can send to Jeremy that he can share with the community board members on who to reach in regard to asking for money or any other help in the Sunset Park community?
Yes. So I will get that list to the community board of like all of our staff members and where you guys should be reaching out depending on what needs you might have or wants you might have, for sure. But also, we are a creature of the city, and we're depending heavily on our local council members to really, we're going to lean on them. I'm from North Brooklyn. I was born and raised in Williamsburg and Bushwick. I know that area very well. I know their needs very well. Unfortunately, I wasn't born in Sunset Park or in the areas of Community Board 7. So I'm going to lean on the people that know more. I have a great relationship with Councilmember Aviles, with Assembly Member Montañez. So what I would say is we'll give you the contact information, but if you have a festival, a Boricua festival, a Boricua parade, or whatever it is that you're doing, and it's something that the borough president has helped you in the past, we would love to continue that. And I only do things big, Pat, so I don't like half-stepping anything. So if you have a celebration, I would love to listen to it, to hear it out. I would prefer that it happens somewhere in Sunset Park and not in Borough Hall. But we want to be helpful in really promoting Brooklyn and making sure that we put Brooklyn on the map. I tell people I'm gonna bring a little bit of the Marty Markowitz back. So you're gonna see me front and center out in these communities having a good time. And a lot of that is celebrating our culture. So if you do that, you're probably gonna be speaking to somebody called Eileen in my office. She's the director of programs. So we'll send you all that information. And I'm, again, really excited, very excited.
And just thank you for that. And just to let you know that I will reach out and send you an email on what it is that we've done in Sunset Park for over 20-something years.
Nice.
All right.
Oh, I'm happy. I'm very excited. Very excited.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, okay. Barbara, quickly, because we need to let the.
It's all right, Cesar.
Okay, Borough President Reynoso, thank you so much for taking on this role. Hello, you still there?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
so sorry. There was a call
Okay.
coming in. I apologize. Go ahead. Just let's
That's
start from the
okay.
beginning.
I work by Borough Hall, and already the changes you've made in like a couple of months, like no more skateboarders and like cleaning up the area. And I just know that you're going to be a really fantastic blessing to Brooklyn, and congratulations.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. It is only the beginning. I always tell people I'd rather 10 lions than 100 sheep. And I got some great people with me right now that are doing great work. And we have a lot more work to do. But again, I've been blessed to be the borough president of Brooklyn, you know, a little brown boy from Williamsburg. I can't tell you how happy and excited I am. And look, a big part of what we do is community boards, is land use, you know, it's capital dollars. But what I want to do is just continue to have Brooklyn be on the map. It is the center of the universe, and I want people to know it. And we're going to have a lot of fun. And I want to really bring that excitement and energy to all the neighborhoods in Brooklyn. And the little work that I was able to do in and around Borough Hall is just a small reflection of what I want to do for the rest of the borough. So I hope you guys are ready in Sunset Park. The festivals, the parks, whatever you're doing, I want to be a part of it. I want to help. I want to support. And I really want to do big things. We already have some ideas that I don't want to tell you about because I don't want to spoil them, but we're going to do good things. It's going to be a lot of fun. And look, and we're a bunch of nerds as well. So I'll let you guys know that we want to have fun. We want to throw the events and the party. That's my son. So I want to throw the events and the parties, but we're also going to be doing some things based on content. And I'm really excited for that as well. So thank you guys.
Awesome, Borough President. Thank you so much for your time. We'll let you go, be with your kids, enjoy them, and we're looking forward to talking soon. Bye. Okay. Yep. Okay, let's go. Okay, my report. So I'm going to be real quick so we can get out of here. So we met last Thursday to talk about a bunch of things. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. The primary discussion, though, that we had was just a conversation around how people were feeling regarding returning to in-person or hybrid. Really good discussion. Clearly, myself included, lots and lots of us continue to be very concerned about the pandemic and about the idea of meeting in close quarters with a lot of people. Like I shared at the meeting, I live with someone who's immunocompromised, so that's something that I'm really just very compelled by. And so I think right now what we agreed to do was obviously continue the status quo. So we're still virtual until further notice. And I think the comments by the senator around lifting the emergency order is not up to us. And so once that actually happens, then we'll evaluate what we're going to do. And I said it at the meeting, and I'll say it here publicly. If we may have to defy a different order, and that's a conversation we'll have. Again, I want to really center people's comfort level with actually meeting in person. The other thing that came up, and again, just equally for me as important, is acknowledging that Zoom and online is not an option for lots and lots of people. And so we're having to balance that out, right? We're having to balance out the fact that Zoom just doesn't work for some people, and it's actually, it creates a condition that excludes certain parts of our community. So we're mindful of that, and so I think the sort of the takeaway was that we're actually going to start to work, the community board members and staff, we're going to really work to assess our technological infrastructure to figure out what is it that we're going to need to pull off hybrid meetings once we're ready to go there. So that's going to happen. I'm expecting in the next month or so for us to really take stock and figure out the logistics of, if and when the time comes, can we do a hybrid meeting? So stay tuned for more on that. The next thing that we talked about was starting a conversation about comprehensive planning for in my agenda I had for the waterfront, but I think I'm persuaded by comments that folks have made to me personally, including our council member, that perhaps our attention should be district-wide. I'm persuaded by that. And so we last week was just sort of the beginning of trying to just kind of figure out how do we have this conversation. So I want to be clear about something though. I am talking about comprehensive planning. I know there was some folks who were talking about rezonings. I think rezonings are one possibility within this idea of planning. If you're interested in rezoning, I want to hear from you. If you're not interested in rezoning, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from everybody on this conversation about planning. And just again, just to be clear, this is coming, and this is something that I'm feeling like we need to prioritize because of all of the experiences we've had on Community Board 7 over the last couple of years, where we're constantly responding and reacting to developers and to folks who want to come and either do rezoning or do planning without us. Okay, so for me, I think it's just about taking a more proactive role. As far as I'm concerned, everybody needs to be part of this conversation. And that's the intent here, is like really to generate a conversation for us around this idea of more comprehensive planning. I've talked to the borough president privately, and he's also really interested in, as you heard him, doing this for the entire borough. So again, as we continue to move forward, I absolutely will be reaching out to all of you on the board, but also want to invite the community at large, organizations, to be part of this conversation. And is there anything else? Nothing on that. So just wanted to give you an update on that. And then we did run out of time to talk about a couple of other items that we put into the agenda, including, but I want to say something here very quickly. And again, I think this is really, for me, something that I've thought about for a long time, but again, something that happened very recently kind of reignited my willingness and commitment to having this more public conversation. And that's really about acquiring the building that the community board is in, right? We're seeing what's happening with Grand Prospect Hall. And I think for me, it would be a real tragedy if in the near future, we got a notice from the city saying, hey, we're taking back the building after the library leaves to turn it into some storage closet or some storage facility for some back office of the administration. I think this is the time for us to act and to start really having some conversations about how do we acquire this building for our community. I've talked to the council member about this, and she seems very positive about the idea, and in fact I have no reason to believe that she's not going to be an amazing partner with us as we really look to acquire this asset for our community. And then finally, another thing that got tabled that I think needs re-examination is the homelessness committee. To be clear, I made a decision to dissolve it after talking to Karen and getting some feedback and input. But I think people have expressed a desire to reconstitute the ad hoc committee, which I'm open to having a conversation. I know last time too, some folks brought up questions related to capacity and bandwidth. And I think regardless of whether or not we reinstate the ad hoc committee, I want to really focus on the capacity and bandwidth issues, because one of our board members made an excellent point about a lot of the work that got done through the committee, and it's an extensive amount of work. And right now the issue of homelessness is embedded into the housing committee. Regardless of whether it stays there or something else happens, we have to deal with the fact that we need bandwidth and resources and capacity to do any work related to this issue, because it's really gotten out of control. And it's really a shame, because I think for us, the intention around creating the committee in the first place was for us to play a really supportive role to the residents, but also to the organizations who run the homeless shelters. Unfortunately, though, that sort of went out the window with the fact that, you know, the previous administration just with reckless abandon basically saddled us with more homeless shelters and these types of spaces than any other, it seems like any other community board. Obviously, I want to get some data on that, but regardless of that, the lived experiences of people that I've talked to on this board and off this board around some of these facilities, those lived experiences are real. You know, folks are talking about real quality of life issues, and there is just a conversation that needs to be had with the new administration about, at the very least, a better way of communicating with us and providing us a lot more information and responses to questions that this community rightly has and deserves responses to. So I'm definitely going to be leaning into this because it's just something that keeps coming up, and we can't continue, or I take that back. We shouldn't ignore this. We need to deal with this head on. So I'm going to leave it there. And Cynthia, do you have a question?
I think I have several, sis. I'm gonna start with the you know, re-engagement of the community board in person. Our community board offices have always been, unfortunately, standing room only for those people that aren't like the first to get there, that get a chair. As a disabled person right now, because I have knee problems, you know, like I cannot stand up in the back of that office. First of all, the space is too small for the numbers that we have on our board. So, you know, there has to be alternatives. We either have to move our meeting spaces, not necessarily the board office, but our meeting spaces to spaces that accommodate everyone, not just those people, you know, that can stand in the back, you know. And when we have public hearings, you yourself have witnessed that, you know, like there's no place, it's unsafe, and it's a safety hazard to have that many people in one space. So that's number one. We need to look at, if we do not acquire that building for our use, because that building has enormous amounts of space. I've lived my whole life in that building, so I know that building. We have to try to do everything in our power to get like a larger space. For example, like the library space that they were able to get, that space is a lot bigger than our space. We can have our meetings there because our board office meeting room only like accommodates committees, not really the entire board. So that's the first thing. The first question that I have is like, what is the board doing to get us adequate meeting spaces? The second question that I have is the redistricting. How is the redistricting going to affect us as a community board? Because, you know, like, is our demographics going to change? I want to know, you know, how it's going to impact us as people who serve the community, because now clearly the community is changing. You know, and you said, you know, the third thing was the thing of the homeless people now on 51st Street and 2nd Avenue. They're going to put 62 units for homeless people that are impacted with mental health issues. So, you know, I'm a clinician. I'm very sympathetic, empathic to that particular community, but I know the fear that it brings to the people of our community because, you know, homeless people because they're unemployed, homeless people because they're drug addicts. Now that specific 62 unit building is slated for people with mental health issues. And why is it that we have to continue and continue and continue absorbing that? I mean, I don't understand why we don't have a say in what goes on in our community. And that's what I think that affects the mental health stability of every neighbor here in Sunset Park, is that people become mentally unstable when they have lived in a community 30, 40, 60 years, and all of a sudden they're afraid to leave their homes. So this is something that the community board has to address. I am the chair of that committee, but I also want to know, you know, demographically, how are we going to change? What's going to happen with us? Where are we going to actually meet if and when the pandemic is over? And I think that these are very important questions for the community board.
Thank you, Pat, and I'm sorry, Cynthia, thank you. So that's part of what our next steps are going to be, is to assess all of these things, including the technology. But I think part of it is obviously assessing what you just described, which is the actual physical space. So that's something that that's to come. In so far as the redistricting, I think Julio is a much better person to talk through on that. So I'll make sure that he reaches out to you.
Well, maybe he should make a presentation so that everybody, not just Cynthia Gonzalez, everybody can know how it's going to affect us.
Great idea. I will tell you that as far as I know, the boundaries for our community board are not changing. So what I anticipate is that our boundaries will remain the same, but our representatives are obviously gonna change. We're probably gonna get more of them. So, but I think that's a great idea. I'll talk to Julio about maybe doing something more community oriented to talk very specifically about the redistricting. Okay, thank you, Cynthia. Gladys.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I came on late. I just want to acknowledge my attendance because I think I missed both.
Thank
but
you
I'm
so
here.
much. All right, Maria, Natasha, can we just acknowledge, and Pat, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Antoinette, you're next.
Present.
Thank you.
Antoinette, you can unmute yourself.
Antoinette.
Okay. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes.
All right, awesome. So for Cesar, I just have a question about the comprehensive planning. You know, I'm a huge supporter of outlining a comprehensive plan for the district. And I think we have a great start of that with the 197A plan. But my question and concern is that with as of right developments that don't fall in line with a comprehensive plan, how will we work to address that? And just jumping off of the point that was just made and brought up by Cynthia is the homeless shelter that's going to be opening up next month. That shelter is going to be built on land that's zoned for industrial manufacturing. It's a M1-2D zoned, and it's not supposed to be zoned for residential, but because the city finds that shelters are community facilities with sleeping accommodations, that's permitted. So it's just, you know, wondering how we're going to negotiate building out a comprehensive plan with all of the outliers that exist.
Yeah. So thank you, Antoinette. Yeah, I mean, look, I share the same concern that we're going to be doing this within the context of some very broken tools and broken processes, right? ULURP is broken, the 197A plan. I heard something, I would love to verify this. I think we were the last community board all the way back in 2009 that actually approved the 197A plan. That speaks
Verified.
volumes. Okay.
Verified.
Thank you for verifying that. That speaks volumes of that particular tool as something to use for planning. So I think for me, notwithstanding all of those challenges, we also need to have these conversations. And so part of what I think we should do is work with our elected officials, right? Because, as of right, I think that is probably the biggest loophole that still exists that needs to be addressed, and it can only be addressed legislatively, right? I don't think we have the power as a community board to do anything about that. So I think, to answer very specifically to your question, I think working with in some of the key areas, working with our electeds to change and to codify new processes. So let's sit down and reinvent the ULURP process. Let's with our electeds. Let's find tools that are more community friendly to do planning, the type of planning that I have in mind. And I think all of these things, I don't subscribe to the idea that because we have all of these imperfect contexts and tools and processes that we somehow shouldn't have this conversation. I think part of having this conversation for me is addressing the very things, the very tools that we have at our disposal to make some of these plans into reality. And I would say, one of the things that is glaringly missing from the ULURP process is an equity and racial impact that developments have in communities. We need to lean into that, and we can't shy away from that. So I think for me, all of these things become part of the conversation around planning, and hopefully we can provide our elected officials with some very good and useful ideas that they can then translate into legislation. John, question.
My question wasn't about this specifically, but it was as Gladys did, I had just come in during the second attendance. I wasn't sure if my attendance was counted, but I was hoping you could make sure I was added to that list as well. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We'll make sure you're added to the attendance list. Thank you, Pat. Okay, John Johnson, you're next.
When we do the comprehensive planning, we should also look at all the onerous uses the city's putting in Sunset Park and Windsor Terrace. I think I talked about this before about the fair share. I think this community board is getting not getting its fair share. It's getting more than its fair share of onerous uses, and we should get our council member to try to invoke the fair share part of the charter when they do planning issues. That's all.
Thank you, John. I couldn't. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're absolutely right, and it's a historical pattern, right? When Giuliani wanted to clean up 42nd Street, we got all the porn shops. When sanitation needed facilities, we got all of the sanitation facilities. That's on top of the fact that we have the BQE and all of these other environmental burdens. And now we're seeing this with the hotels and the homeless shelters and on and on and on. So yes, 100%, and hoping that we can really compel this new administration early on, because it's not sustainable to continue to use this district as a dumping ground. So appreciate that comment. And finally, Zach.
Hey, sorry, I just wanted to have my attendance noted as well.
Thank you, and noted. Okay, great. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you all for your attention. And Jeremy, you're on for your report.
So I just want to make sure, because during elected officials and reps, we jumped right to the borough president. I'm not sure we finished that, so I just wanted to ask Natasha if there was anybody else on the list.
I had on my list, I'm not sure if they're still here, Fabian Rogers representing Jabari Brisport, and Anna Laura Chalpero representing Assemblymember Matenas.
Okay, they at least their elected officials both spoke, so I'll give my report then. Good evening, everybody. And it's good to see everybody. I was asked to be brief tonight, so I hope to stick to that. The borough president brought this up, but last week I had the opportunity to meet with him and some of his staff at the borough service cabinet. That was last Thursday. I wasn't able to stay very long, but I made sure I got my voice heard. And I brought up the budget, technology, and training as what I think should be the three priorities that they focus on for community boards. Cesar and I met with Councilwoman Aviles this past Monday, and I brought up, not surprising, the budget, technology, and training that I would love for them to help us focus on. The councilwoman also brought up opening up wider access to our meetings and how we can go about doing that. And I also brought up several of our long-running DOT issues. Yesterday, I met with Shani Ordain from Live On New York, which is a not-for-profit in New York that promotes organ donations. She let me know some interesting statistics about our community. Not our borders, but our 4 main zip codes. In 2021, there are 102 people who were waiting for organ donations. 91 of those were waiting for kidney donations. 71 of them self-identified as Hispanic or Asian. So more than 70% of those folks on the list. Last year, 7 people in those zip codes received transplants, but 6 people who were on the list also passed away. This is, of course, to promote organ donation. There was at least 5 positive stories that came out of that terrible tragedy last month, police officers being killed. 5 people received organ donations out of that. And I just wanted to make sure that people know the statistics in our district. Live On New York will be asking to do a presentation before one of our committees. I expect a letter to come any day, and I will reach out as that comes in. You may notice that 4th Avenue is about to undergo additional construction. There are test pits that are being dug on the medians this week, and that is for the median and the cement project, not the cement project that just finished a couple of years ago, which was by the MTA. This is now by DOT. This is to do additional safety work, cement work related to the bike lanes, the pedestrian crossings, and also to put planters on our medians. The full project is slated to start this spring, and we hope to have a presentation coming up soon. I was asked to look into what is going on the 7th Avenue side of Sunset Park. That was not a project we were familiar with. They are digging up a portion of the entrance area. But that is a telecom project to the rec center that is part of the full upgrade that is slated to take place at the rec center. There are 8 liquor license applications, new and renewals, in our office in the red binder for anybody who wishes to look through them. You're welcome to come to our office. Please just knock. And the statistics, the police department statistics should have been emailed to all of you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Okay, let's go to old business. Any old business? Okay, seeing none, let's go to new business. Any new business? Grisel, mi amor. We can't hear you.
Grisel, please unmute yourself. There you are.
Yes, okay. I just want, in behalf of myself and United Senior Center, I want to thank Councilwoman Alexa Viles because she did distribution of the home COVID test for the seniors, face mask, and hand sanitizer. So I just want to say thank you.
Grisel, where are you?
I am in Puerto Rico at this moment.
And that's and you're able to do that because we're able to do remote meetings right now.
Thank God. Thank God. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I see you next Tuesday there in New York.
Thank you, Grisel. Enjoy Puerto Rico. Thank you.
Thank you. My honor.
Okay.
There's another hand up.
Yep. Antoinette, new business.
Hi, everyone. Just want to invite everyone to attend the community board meeting that will be held on March 1st. We're going to have representatives from the department, from DHS, the Department of Homeless Services, and from Samaritan Village. And Samaritan Village is the nonprofit organization that's going to be operating the homeless shelter on 51st Street and 2nd Avenue. So if you have any questions or concerns, please, you have about 2 weeks to start thinking, but really invite you to attend that meeting.
Thank you, Antoinette. Appreciate that. Jeremy, can you make sure that we do like wide and comprehensive outreach and notification? I met with a group of people today about their concerns related to this specific issue, and I've heard a lot of folks across the entire district who have some concerns. So I think this is particularly if DHS is going to show up, we want to make sure that people have their questions and their comments ready to go. So would love to have real comprehensive outreach.
Yep.
And Caesar, will you be at that meeting as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
We're happy to widely distribute it. Any help that we could get from board members to help us do that, particularly now, I would appreciate it. I just want to let everybody also know Samaritan Village is also the operator of the facility on 49th between 2nd and 3rd. So if you have experience, positive or negative, with them as an operator, we'd love to hear that as well.
Thank you, Jeremy. Barbara Lee.
Yeah, is this meeting going to be on Zoom or in person?
I think Zoom, but Antoinette, am I wrong about that?
No, the meeting will be on Zoom.
Yeah.
So okay, just wanted to make sure. So that information will be mailed out to us, right? The link and everything?
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. David.
Hello. I just wanted to note for folks, you might see a lot of white trash bags on 5th Avenue starting today. We just engaged a new sanitation vendor. The Sunset Park bid offers supplemental sanitation to DSNY. We spend about a quarter of our annual budget on sanitation. And it's, one of our biggest challenges. We're using a company called Block by Block. They're national. They also work in Bay Ridge and Park Slope. Our new sanitation ambassador is Lionel, and he'll be out on the avenue. I hope if you see him, pushing the broom, that you'll give him some hey, what's up? How are you? Welcome. He's going to be assigned to us continuously. ACE workers in the red sweatshirts remain on the job at least until July 1st under the sponsorship of the council member's office. So we have some help out there, but we need your help. So if you need help figuring out how to report trash, illegal dumping, bad corners, bad conditions, if you need someone to stop by and talk to a merchant about their responsibilities and things like that, I'd love to try to help. You're welcome to contact the bid, and we'll be actively engaged trying to clean the place up. And we have a general board meeting on Wednesday, the 23rd at 2:00. We've instituted that all Sunset Park bid general board meetings are public meetings, just in the spirit of including anyone who wants to come. It's often the same folks who are volunteers themselves. But again, contact me or info@sunsetparkbid.org if you want any information, follow up, to suggest agenda items, or to attend. It'll be on Zoom, pure Zoom all the way. So we're kind of with you tracking with the community board here. We want the capability for blended. I think that's the way to go in the long term. Like that's because like right now I'm here with my babies next to me and I might not be able to be in the room with you. So it just cuts both ways. It's such a big issue. Thank you for focusing on it.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Good to see you. Okay, that seems to be all for new business. Okay, public comment. Are there any members of the public, Jeremy, who wish to speak now?
So members of the public, please use the raise hand function. And Cesar, would you like me to call on them?
That would be helpful. Thank you.
I have several who've raised their hand. I also have one who let me know his microphone isn't working and asked me to read his question. So I will save that for the end. So folks, remember you have 3 minutes. If you look at my screen, you will see I am also the timekeeper tonight, and you will see your countdown clock there. So I have Peter DeRocher. Peter, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you so much. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. So I wanted to contact the community board about an ongoing issue I've been having. I live on 41st Street, directly across from the sprinkler area in Sunset Park. And since the fall, there have been these very large groups of people that gather regularly every day from starting at about 8:30. And they exercise with extremely loud music playing for about 3 hours nonstop at a time. At one point, it was beginning sometimes at 6:30 in the morning. At other times, it would begin a little bit later, but stretch throughout the day. And it's something that's sort of been an ongoing problem over the years that I've lived here, but it's really reached a point where it's happening every day minus any sort of precipitation. We've tried contacting, my neighbors and I have tried contacting the Parks Department about it, who said their hands are kind of tied because they have very few agents for enforcement. And we've also tried placing a number of 311 calls. And the response we've always gotten is that police responded, but no action was necessary. These groups are in violation of several park rules, particularly about amplified music, which is just supposed to not happen. And the response we've gotten is that police have responded, but action wasn't required. I've tried getting in touch with the NCOs, who just gave me a very vague, we'll look into it kind of response. And subsequent 311 calls, I had a neighbor place one last week, and she received an immediate response in about 5 minutes saying police responded and, responded and corrected the situation, despite the fact that it continued for another 2 hours. And when I'm talking about the loud volume, it's to the point where with our windows closed, you can still constantly hear this music. The groups don't take a break. At this point, there are sometimes up to 3 groups playing conflicting music. One group has recently started in the volleyball area. And we're really just hoping to get something done about this, particularly with warm weather. It makes it very unpleasant to be in the park. It's virtually impossible to have our windows open. I've gone across the street several times, and the groups have basically been unresponsive. If I tell them to turn it down, they will, but I need to keep telling them, they'll turn it down just very incrementally until I keep saying, turn it down, or I will call the police. And then the next day it's just back at the next volume. So we're hoping that somehow we could get the community board involved. I know obviously there are many other priorities, but like I said, it's gone from something that you could kind of say, well, it's only occasionally, it happens for an hour and I can ignore it, to a kind of a serious quality of life issue for those of us who live across the street from the park.
Hey, welcome to Sunset.
Yep, I've been here for a while.
So Peter, I would invite you to contact the community board office either at 718-854-0003 or BK07, like Burger King 07, at CB, like communityboards.nyc.gov.
So before we call on the next person, just generally, again, something that I opened up with at the beginning of the meeting. Let's be kind to each other in this community, and maybe sometimes let's talk to each other more directly. And so yeah, I'm hoping Jeremy, you'll get some more information on this. So great. Okay, next.
I have Gabino Morales Escamilla Jr. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, Community Board 7. My name is Gabino Morales. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak at this meeting. I would like to address the fact that we have in our area in Greenwood Heights, 25th Street and 5th Avenue. We have a building there right across the street from the Greenwood Cemetery. It has been vacant for so long, as far as I can remember. And I would just like to know what the situation is there and when this project will be completed, because as far as I know, this location was set to host or to be a community visitor center for the cemetery, or a cultural center. So I'm not sure what it's going to be, and I would just like to clarify some clarification on when the project is going to finish, be completed, and what's it going to be actually. Thank you.
So, sir, we had a presentation on this several months ago. I don't recall off the top of my head when that was, but if you contact my office, we would happy to give you a copy of that presentation, and I believe all of your questions will be answered. It is going to be both a community center and a visitor center.
That's awesome. I appreciate that information.
No problem. I have Mike Frisch next. Mike, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to talk. I just had a quick question.
Mike, I'm sorry, I just made a mistake and I removed your permission, so I'm going to allow you to talk again. Mike?
Hi.
Sorry
Yeah, not a problem. Hi, yeah, I'll make this quick. I'm not sure if this is the correct platform to ask, but I was just interested if I were interested in possibly joining the community board, what would be the process of that, and what would be the likelihood of joining? But it's just something that I wanted to get involved with and wanted to see what that would look like.
So Mike, you can either get in touch with the community board tomorrow and we'll be happy to send you a link, but you could also go directly to the borough president's website, because it's the borough president who does the actual appointments, and get a copy of the application there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Maria Roca next. Maria, you could unmute yourself.
There we are. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Good evening, everyone. My first comment to, I believe it was Peter, with the situation with the invasive and pervasive loud music from the park that penetrates wall, window, and all alike. It is an issue that Friends of Sunset Park, I am the president and founder of Friends of Sunset Park, has been trying to deal with, has been dealing with right now for decades. This is not days, weeks, years, but decades. It starts often as on the, our particular connection to this is on the south side of the park by the, near the 44th and 6th Avenue entrance, where again competing, multiple groups compete for attention to attract dancers to their group, and the music is, you cannot sleep past 7 a.m. This is 7 days a week. So I'm not sure how we can connect, Peter, but you can certainly send me an email at friendsofsunsetpark@yahoo.com, excuse me, and we can maybe talk more about this. I would want to talk about the, and the community board knows about it, the precinct knows about it. 9/11 was called about this next issue. The presence of untagged a test bus on 5th Avenue between 53rd and 54th that crossed from, in front of, sorry, Citibank. And no vehicle in New York City can be on the street without plates. That's simple. However, after everyone came and spoke with them, and no one could find the plates, nor what appear to be registration documents or anything like that, the people in that bus who were there to touch people to do testing for COVID were allowed to stay on site and were not, to my knowledge, this is what I was told, were not summoned, were not given tickets to appear in court and account for their sins. That is a problem. It goes back to the idea that Sunset Park has been treated like a dump ground, that anybody can come here, set up shop on 5th, 3rd, 4th, 7th Avenue, 8th Avenue, and no one is going to demand that they follow the rules that any one of us would be allowed to follow. It is a problem, and it has been a problem for a long time. And I'm ready to talk to whomever to see how we turn the scales on that. How we.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Anyone else?
I have Eduardo Jimenez next. Eduardo, you can unmute yourself.
Hello. Hi, good evening. Good to see everyone here. My comment is in regards to last week's executive board meeting, where board member Karen Ronick expressed that the community board meetings and the community boards are the best representation we have of the community, and no outside organization represents this community. When speaking about affordable housing and trying to accomplish affordable housing when there's no land available in the community. I am here to echo that statement, but further adding that there are very limited organizations within the community to represent the genuine housing needs and concerns of the working class of this community. Based on the experience the community lived through with the rezoning proposal by Totem, it was troubling to see Fifth Avenue Committee, a respected nonprofit affordable housing authority, was the marketing team pushing for Totem's proposal, as well as members of this board allowing Totem and its marketing branch misrepresent the community's housing needs. In addition to that, despite the very local and vocal pushback from working class community members, their concerns of impending displacement provoked by development projects like Totem were never addressed. So Michelle de la Ruse clarified that the concern should be more about secondary displacement, which there is no way to assess how developments like Totem could promote such displacement. So if this board would like to consider the community's best be considered as the community's best representation, it should at the very least actively engage with the larger community, create a platform where the community can be in control of its narrative and needs, and then instead of allowing developers seeking community approval, control the narrative, and ensure that development approvals are dictated by the community's own representation. And that will be all. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no additional hands. I was asked to read that one item. If you give me 1 second, let me bring that up. So this is from Chris Schneider, who says, my question is concerning the changes that have happened on 6th Avenue between 20th and 24th Street. It is a mess for so many, and the traffic is not following any rules and making it extremely unsafe for pedestrians. It is like the Wild West, and now people park illegally everywhere, including at every hydrant. We need help and support.
Thank you.
And I'm at the end of the list.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so, Katie, do you have a public comment?
Yes, I have public comment. Three disparate things. I just wanted to mention, I know we have a couple of community board members that are part of the Sunset Park Task Force, and I know that they met at the end of January. I would love to invite folks who serve on that to be able to talk about things that are covered in that meeting, because For example, I know from reading the minutes, there was a discussion about the offshore wind ecosystem fund, which is supposed to be several $1,000s that go to Sunset Park. So David Estrada, Nick Azadian, Jeremy, Dan Murphy, like be able to kind of, what are you hearing in those meetings, and how is that fund progressing? If there's anything you can offer from that, maybe in the next meeting. I also have heard from a bird that Andrew Kimball, who we all know by way of the industry city rezoning, it sounds like he's going to be named as the head of the Economic Development Corporation and for New York EDC. So this is somebody that we've dealt with in this community before, and that is expected to happen in another day or two, at least according to media reports. And then there was a mention earlier about redistricting. I'm bringing this up in public comment because I just wanted to offer for folks who are interested in joining. This Saturday from 12 noon to 2, the Democratic County Committee folks are going to be meeting, and we'll have some discussions on redistricting and what that means for our district as well. So happy to answer more questions about that. Thanks.
Thank you, Katie. That's great. That's a great announcement about Saturday. So maybe Jeremy can circulate some of the meeting information before Saturday. That would be great. Okay. I think that's all for public comments. So is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.